welcome back to the Coffee Dates podcast with Georgia Botocco, where I will be your host. We're in the Let's Catch Up over coffee era, so grab yourself your favourite coffee and come and join me. Okay, hello everybody and welcome back to another episode. I know I talk about the traffic every single time, but today I really am recording at a busy time, so apologies. But my life is a little bit more busy recently, so I'm just trying to fit these in as and when. So today is the episode that I've been wanting to do for a long time. I did actually have a podcast going with a friend of mine last year, and we actually did a very similar episode, and that is on basically heartbreak. We focused more on heartbreak and we talked more about heartbreak in relationships that aren't just romantic. And I basically told my story of when I thought I was going to lose someone that was very close to me. And what is up? I don't know if you just heard that, but sorry, I was about to swear, but bloody hell, Sydney drivers cannot drive and they beep at everything. I don't know if that's just like a city thing. But anyway, yeah, I told my story about when I thought someone very close to me maybe wasn't going to make it. And yeah, we focus more on heartbreak in that sense. But today I'm actually really going to be talking about navigating a breakup. And I'm going to be giving my tips. It's quite a hard subject to talk about, to be honest, because at the end of the day, everyone's going to deal with like breakups in different ways. And it also depends on if you're the one that's being broken up with or if you're the one that's done the breakup. So there's going to be a few different pieces of advice that you would give. It's really kind of dependent on the situation, but I'm going to talk about it in a broad way and give maybe advice and tips on how I dealt with a breakup. And at the end of the day, if it helps you guys, then perfect. I'm not going to lie, I've looked for these types of podcasts and videos a lot, and there is actually a lot out there, especially nowadays, and it's honestly so helpful. And I'm not just saying this, but it is one of the main things that helped me through my breakup. And that was simply watching YouTube videos on these types of advice that I'm going to be giving. So let's just get on with it. Okay, so firstly, I feel like going through a breakup can really feel like grief sometimes, because I guess like what happens is you form not only like a romantic relationship with somebody, but you also form a friendship and they become like your best friend. Like it's somebody you spend so much time with. So of course it can feel so strange when you first go through a breakup and you aren't spending that same amount of time together, especially if you've like been living with that person. It's a huge change and adjustment to go from living with someone and having dinner with them, having breakfast with them, talking about your day together, making weekend plans, to suddenly them just not being there anymore. Even just little things like their clothes not being in the wardrobe anymore. And it's a huge adjustment. So I feel like that's why a lot of people will compare a breakup to grief, because it does kind of feel like you're losing someone. Because I personally feel like unless you have like kids together or some sort of tie like that, I feel like when you go through a breakup, and especially at the start, there's just no way you can really hold a friendship, because it's crossed that line. It's not really a friendship anymore. I mean, it would be lovely if we could live in a world where it could be like that, but like, you know, once you've made it romantic and you've crossed that line, it's hard to kind of go back. So yeah, you really do feel like you've lost someone, and that can be hard to deal with. And if you've not yet been through heartbreak, to be honest, I was gonna say I wouldn't wish it upon anyone, but it really, like, it's crazy how many lessons you can learn through going through it, and how much it can change things for the better, in a sense that you kind of find out things about yourself that you never knew. You kind of open a new you, and you learn how to deal with things differently and better, and you learn who to bring into your life and who you shouldn't, and you kind of create more healthy boundaries and barriers if you're handling a breakup the right way. But yeah, at the same time, if you haven't experienced a breakup, then yeah, they're not fun at all, and they can be very hard depending on how the breakup happened and maybe how long you were with the person, etc. So I guess as well, like if you've never been through a breakup and your friend is and they're really struggling, don't ever say to them, it's just a breakup, because it doesn't feel like that when you're going through it. So try and be there for your friend. But let's talk about some things that helps me and I would encourage other people to do. So firstly, quite often when you've just been through a breakup, you're going to feel extremely sad, extremely isolated, kind of feel like nothing's really like making you feel good. The things that usually would make you feel good just aren't. You're kind of like finding yourself like looking around, and it just seems like, because you know when they say when you're looking for something you see more of it, and because you're no longer in a relationship but you're thinking and you're romanticizing about that relationship, when you look around you're going to see more people with a partner. So like I know after a breakup in the past, I've kind of, when I'm going through my like sad stage, I'm looking around, it feels like everyone's in a relationship. You're fully like romanticizing how your relationship was or how you think it was in this moment. And yeah, it kind of feels like doom and gloom. And what I would say in that moment is you don't need to feel like you need to shake yourself out of that, because I feel like that stage is actually so important to go through. I feel like if you're not necessarily like accepting that you feel that way and you're trying to like not be sad, like you're forcing yourself not to be sad, then it will catch up eventually. I know that sounds super cliche these days, but it is true. So I would say when you're going through that initial emotion, just let yourself feel it. Don't force yourself to go out and maybe socialize, because when you go through a breakup, everyone's like, you need to get out, like you need to take your mind off it, which is true, but not at this stage of the breakup, because I'm talking about fresh stages, like the first few weeks. Don't let that pressure make you feel like you need to go out and take your mind off it, because that stage is so important to do and allow yourself to feel that way. So if that means just coming back from work, just sitting down, having a phone call with your family, with your friends and crying, then let that happen. The thing I would say is, although you're allowing yourself to feel that way, try not to let it affect work and serious things like that, because at the end of the day, that's where you're getting your income. That's very important. So things like work and things that you do have to do that, and try not to let it affect that. So when I say let yourself feel and let yourself cry, I don't mean call in and take like the week off work. Really try and get yourself out the house and do those important tasks, like try not to neglect going to work, doing your food shop, those type of stuff. But once that's done, come home, just allow yourself to cry, to call friends, and just feel that. Don't feel like you then have to go out and socialize with friends and go out drinking. One of the reasons I say this, and I say to make sure you're still sticking at like your normal tasks that need to be done, is because you're already feeling like you're losing such a familiar and normal part of your day-to-day stuff, which is losing that person. So you don't want to lose everything and completely isolate yourself and your usual routine. You want to keep things in there from the very get-go that feel familiar, because those at the time don't feel like big things, but they're the little things that you'll look back at and realize they helped you more than you knew. So simply turning up to work, doing your food shop, those types of stuff are what's going to keep you going and keep the momentum, like you're still feeling like you're accomplishing something. Another reason I feel like it's super important to just allow that feeling and come home and be a little bit sad and rant to your parents or your sister or your friends. One of the reasons I think that's so important is because time's going to move on, people move on. So if you're masking that feeling and you're just going out drinking straight away, like trying to get with people to like make yourself feel better, take your mind off it, you're not fully allowing yourself to accept the breakup happened and actually allowing yourself to move on from that person. It really is just masking it, and therefore it will eventually catch up. So if the other person in the breakup is doing the healing, I don't know if I like that word, but if they're sat at home and they're not trying to mask it, they're just feeling it, they're just going through the motions and they're allowing themselves to accept what's happened, and you're going out and you're getting drunk, like you may feel like you've got one up straight like at that time, but then what happens when that other person who's accepted it and they're going out and genuinely having a good time and they're over it now, and then you go out and you see that person and they're having a good time, and you're out and you see that, it's gonna make you feel more shitty. You're gonna wish you'd done that work before you started going out trying to have a good time. Once you have then gone through that stage, because you're gonna go through different stages, right? At the same time as allowing yourself to feel that way, try not to let it go on for too long. So when I think about that stage, personally for me, I would allow myself a few weeks. And again, it depends. Like if you've been living with that person or something and it takes a little bit more to get used to, I would say give yourself like a few weeks. And then once you kind of have had that stage, start like socializing again. Start getting out with your friends. And I wouldn't even say like go out like drinking and stuff. I would say just like going out and doing day trips, exploring new places, creating like new memories with places, because what you'll find when you go for a breakup is everything you like drive past or a song you might hear, it's gonna like kind of you may associate it with that person, and it's just gonna kind of bring back memories, make you feel weird again. So start going out with friends, go to new places, create new memories, go to old places, but create new memories there. So you don't have this attachment of a place with this person you're no longer with. You're then going to start to associate that place with other things, happy things. That's not to say you can't associate a place with your ex as a happy place, because unless you were in a horrendous relationship, you can still appreciate you had good times together. But at the start of a relationship, at the start of a breakup, it will feel very raw, so you're not really going to see it like that straight away. So going to old places and new places with new friends, new people, you're gonna create different memories to the place. And then of course, if you do enjoy going out for a drink with your mates, then definitely start to socialize in that way as well. At the end of the day, you're allowed to have fun. You want to go out and you want to enjoy yourself, just not in an unhealthy way that you're drinking yourself to like black out to try and make yourself feel better. But if you feel like you've kind of got over that initial emotional sadness, go out, start having some drinks with your friends if that's something you like to do and you enjoy doing. Go out on day trips, and just really start socializing again. You don't want to isolate yourself for too long, but I do think that time of kind of like a small isolation is important to have to yourself. Now, on that note, something that people get a little bit like scared about is sometimes when people get into relationships, they kind of lose contact with friends, which that's a whole nother story that I'm not going to get into today. But if you are going for a breakup right now and you do feel like maybe you kind of cut some friends off during that breakup, or maybe you didn't try as much as you could to reach out to that person because you were occupied elsewhere, don't be scared to reach out. people change. Like, people are a lot more forgiving than what you may think in that moment of going through a breakup, because you're in your little bubble, everything's a bit clouded. You might feel like, oh my god, everyone hates me, like this person doesn't want to be with me, like they're not going to want to talk to me, they're just going to know that I'm talking to them because I've gone through a breakup. All of these thoughts are going through your head, but I'm telling you now, if that's happening right now, just reach out to your friend. Okay, and the worst that's going to happen is they're not going to reply, or they're going to be like, no, and then maybe you just leave it for the time being. But the chances are they're gonna be more forgiving than what you think, and you're gonna create your friendship again. So don't be scared to reach out to connections that maybe dropped off a little bit whilst you were in your relationship, because things happen and people learn and people move on. So yeah, please don't feel scared to reach out to people. So that is definitely a tip I would say. Once you've given yourself time to kind of like grieve and be sad, start socializing a little bit more, reach out to people, connect with new friends. If there's people you have on social media that maybe you were never really that friendly with, but it's like mutual connections, reach out to them if they're living nearby you. And yeah, really start putting yourself out there a little bit, because it's going to be a distraction, and it's going to be a good distraction. It's always good to know different people and have different connections. So leading on from the socializing point, something that I think leads on really nicely is, and hear me out on this one, because I say this a lot and a lot of people say it nowadays, so it sounds very cliche, but something that really, really helped me, and I honestly think this was one of the top things that helped me, was making myself be present in every moment. So from past breakups, what I found is I've handled them very badly, and I will go out and I'll see my friends and I'll make all of these lovely plans and all of these great stuff is going on, but my brain would have been so clouded that I don't see any of the goodness, because I'm just so fixated on the breakup and what is that person doing, why don't they want to be with me, and I will be putting all of my energy and time into trying to change that person's mind, basically, which you should never do, because at the end of the day, most of the time, if it wasn't a problem with you two, it's a problem with them. So that's something you can't change and you can't control. But anyway, that's how I used to handle breakups. I would be too fixated on trying to get that person to like me, because I wouldn't understand why. And I'd want all of these answers that I was never going to get. So I'd be in these amazing moments, seeing these amazing things, being with my lovely friends, family, great stuff was going on, great news was happening, and I just couldn't see it. And it was because I wasn't present. I wasn't seeing what was in front of me. It was like I had tunnel vision, and all at the end of the bloody tunnel was just the ex. Everything else was blurred. So when I went through the last breakup, I told myself, I'm not going to allow that. I'm not going to allow that, because time is so precious. Time moves so fast, and you realize that as you get older. And the only regrets I can have is wasting time over people that didn't deserve my time. And maybe not even didn't deserve, it just was done and it wasn't even needed, So it's the promise I made to myself that after having a healthy conversation and understanding that something was over, the promise I made to myself was I will be present in every moment and everything I do. Now it's hard, and it's something you have to really train yourself, and I had to force my brain to do this, okay? Like genuinely, I'd have to, if I found my brain wandering, I'd have to like bring it back to the present. And once I went through everything and I started socializing again, I started going on a lot of day trips, and I would be out and I'd catch myself thinking, what's he doing right now? Like, blah, blah, blah. And, my brain's wandering. I'd force myself to bring myself back and look what was in front of me and just take in everything. And it sounds so funny, but if I was like on a road trip, I'd be thinking about, I literally look around at everything, try and spot everything, the smells, the people, and I just really try and take in my surroundings and be so present. Like, you know when you go on holiday and you come back and you're like, it doesn't even feel like I went. I can't even remember. And it feels like you never went and you can't really even remember the holiday, even though you've literally just been. It's probably because you weren't present. You weren't taking everything in. So I trained my brain after this breakup to do that. And it makes such a huge difference. Like, you appreciate things so much more. And it really starts to put things into perspective of what's important and how you can still enjoy yourself and appreciate things even when things are a little bit shitty. So yeah, I'd really train myself to just look at my surroundings, like look at who was around me, appreciate the people that were spending time with me. Like, at the end of the day, the people that are spending time with you, like, they could be elsewhere doing their own thing, but they're choosing to spend the time with you. And I wouldn't want to burden them. And I'm talking a month after the breakup, because obviously at the start it's normal to talk to your friends and family about the situation. But after, you've done that for a while, like, you don't really want to burden them with that. You don't want to feel like maybe every time, like, you see them, you're going back and forward, like, because then they're kind of going to feel like you're not being appreciative of them being there and their time and the fact that they're there with you. And that's such a nice thing. So teaching myself to be present and be appreciative of the people that were showing up for me and the people that were answering their phones to me, and giving them my time. That was something that really helped me. And again, it was another distraction, and it was a healthy distraction because my brain was elsewhere. It was on the present moment. It was on the people that really were showing up for me and not on someone that no longer wanted a relationship to continue with me. So I guess that taught me who was important and who was worth my time and energy. So along with being present in every situation and friendship group, in every scenario I was in, alongside that, something that really helped me, because I would find that I'd be out and I'd be having a lovely day, and I'd be occupied and distracted, and then I would find I'd come back home and suddenly it would like hit me again because you're on your own. So then I had to teach myself how to be kind of, is distracted the right word? I'm going to use the word distraction. I don't know if it's the right word, guys, so don't, I know everyone's so picky these days on social media and stuff, word for word, but let's just say a healthy distraction, okay? It's not the best way to word it, but I had to find a healthy distraction for when I was home and I was on my own. So I basically had to find a distraction that wasn't connected to anybody else. And so what I found really helped me, if it wasn't like going out for walks on my own or training, because I find exercise is brilliant, putting on some music and exercising is like fantastic, and a lot of people will know that. And again, I was like reconnecting with like my dancing and flexibility and like just kind of like impressing myself and being like, whoa, I forgot I could do this. And like, because when you go through a breakup, you kind of lose yourself and you put the other person on a pedestal and you forget how capable you are and how good you are at certain things. So I did reconnect with flexibility, with training, working on my body, my mindset, and reminding myself at things that what I was good at and how somebody would be lucky to be with me, kind of thing. So other than that kind of stuff, but I feel like that's obvious, something that really, really helped me was watching, and I think I touched upon this earlier, was watching YouTube videos of psychologists and therapists and even people just like me and you just talking about their experiences with breakups. Oh my gosh, I found that so helpful. What I would actually do, right? And this is what got me into the podcast, actually going through the breakup, is I would literally almost every moment of the day, if I wasn't working or sleeping, I would have my AirPods in and I would have a podcast in. The main one I would listen to was the Mindset Mentor. He is fantastic. And I would always have one of his episodes going, and that was just feeding me all these like positive, happy, like how to look at things in a different way when you're stuck in like a bubble and everything's so negative and like gloom and just moody. When I had my AirPods in and I was listening to him, it was just like my brain was just being fed all of this stuff I'd never heard before about how to retrain such horrible thoughts, to the point where I just naturally began to think in the way that he tries to teach you. So that's something I did. I never allowed, at the start, I barely allowed myself to have silence, because that's when I would get myself carried away, thinking like bad thoughts and overthinking. And yes, I would put my AirPods in, I'd listen to him, and it got so ingrained in me that I began to think and talk like him. So that was something that helped. And then when I was like doing like my makeup in the morning, I was like getting dressed after a shower, I would put YouTube videos on, which were very similar. Some were targeted purely for going through a breakup and how to navigate that. And they were so, so helpful. And if anyone wants to know the YouTube videos, the name of the ones I was watching and stuff, drop me a message because I will find them all for you. But yeah, I would just listen to people who had gone through similar situations, think about how they dealt with it. And it just reminds you that although it feels so isolating at the time, it reminds you how many people deal with it. There's so much videos and podcasts out there to help you navigate a breakup, which shows how many people deal with it. And I think when something doesn't feel so isolating, it makes it feel a little bit easier. So yeah, that's along with staying present. That was something that really helped me as well. I'm going to just finish off with some last little bits, and that would simply be, don't badmouth your ex, no matter how much you might feel like you want to in that moment, because it might have ended really badly and they might have done some terrible things. But try not to badmouth your ex, because you have to remember, like, you're in a bubble right now and everything probably feels 10 times worse than it is. And I feel like the problem with when you react straight away and you're going around and you're saying all of this stuff, once you do kind of get over that and you don't feel that heightened emotion so much, you kind of then are left with all of these problems and it will bite you in the bum, and you don't want to have to deal with that. And what happens if then you do become friends with them, like down the line, and your mates hate them? Like, it just causes unnecessary problems. So speak to the people closest to you about what happened. But personally now, I would try and keep as much stuff private, because remember, this is just a temporary feeling, and things will change and you'll feel differently about it once, it's been a few months later. So yeah, I try and limit the amount of people you tell maybe everything to, and yeah, just try not to badmouth them. It never ends well. It's always going to lead with problems that will bite you in the bum. And another thing is, like I said, I know everyone deals with things differently, but I personally would try and hold off from dating so soon. Like, you're not in the right mindset. Like I said, you're in a bubble. Everything feels so heightened. The way you're looking at things right now isn't clearly, and it's likely going to change after even 6 months. Like, it can take a while sometimes. So yeah, I personally wouldn't jump into meeting people straight away. It's just going to mess with your head even more. And to be honest, I feel like a lot of gals in particular, I don't know about guys, but when they do start meeting somebody straight after, they're kind of looking for things that were in their ex, because you still haven't let yourself accept that breakup and really feel differently about that. So it's like you're meeting new people, but you're not really seeing them for who they are. You're kind of still seeing your ex. So if they do something that maybe your ex doesn't do, you're like, like, you know, you're like, nah, this isn't what happened in my last relationship. Or if they're doing stuff that maybe your ex did do, maybe, you know, like, you're just not able to connect with that person, like, healthily, because you're still thinking about your ex. So I personally would hold off with jumping into dating straight away. It's just, again, it's never really going to end well. And yeah, sometimes you will meet someone quite soon after, and it will just happen like that. But if you're, and that's like a different situation, but if you're forcing yourself to go out and date, I would personally say that's really unnecessary, and it's going to just give you more problems. Wait till you've been through all of these different stages. You've let yourself kind of cry and feel sad about it. You've then started to socialize again, reconnect with friendships. You've allowed yourself to feel good when you're on your own. You've found things that make you feel good, that remember that your ex wasn't on a pedestal, you know. You are worthy of meeting somebody. Once you've reminded yourself of all these things that you're good at, which things you love, you know, you're then able to go out and maybe have a drink, and it's all in a healthy way. Like, you're not drinking yourself to blackout. You know, once you've gone through all of these different stages and everything feels good again, and you feel yourself and everything feels clear, that's when I would think about dating. And on that note, in between that, I personally would say completely stop all connection with your ex. You're never going to be able to move on if you're still talking to your ex. You really, really aren't. You need to go through all of these different stages without speaking to them. At the end of the day, there is a reason why you broke up. There is definitely a reason why you broke up. And whether you can rekindle things again, I don't know. But you do need that time to figure that out yourself. Because once you've gone through all of these stages, you'll see things clearly again. So yeah, I'm going to end this here. There's so much more I could talk about. And again, I'll definitely do another episode on this. But I just wanted to talk about some kind of stages that really helped. And I know there's going to be people out there like, screw that, like, go out, go get drunk, do this, do that. Yeah, okay, like, I've been there and I've done that, but I can tell you now, it does not help. It does not help. It helps to go out and have fun and have some drinks, but once you've dealt with it, like, not straight away. That's a big no-no. And personally, when I did that, I only ended up with a few regrets. And I don't even mean like as in like sleeping around and stuff. I just mean as in, I think when you drink and you're emotional, you say things that you regret. So it's just not, drinking and that kind of emotion does not go hand in hand. So for me, it would be a big no-no. And I would personally really be looking at dealing with breakups like this and using it as like motivation to like achieve something good, being like, okay, well, this didn't work out, but I'm going to go and strive and I'm going to do this next thing I wanted to do. And it doesn't have to necessarily be tied to another person. It could be something for yourself. So use it as drive to, you know, power yourself into something else you've always wanted to do or achieve. But yeah, I hope this really helped. I'm sure there's so much more I could talk about, but I just wanted to stick to my bullet points so I didn't go off the rails. But yeah, I hope this can help you a little bit on navigating breakups, and I'll definitely do some more episodes, give you more tips, and talk a little bit more about heartbreak and breakups with friends as well, because that's another big one. But yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time.